right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Matt Kreitz. I'm a relatively new member here with the Young Broker Network. We are lucky to be joined here today by Mike Edgar, who is currently the Loss Control Marketing Manager with Portage Mutual. Thanks for joining, Mike. How are you?
Oh, I am doing well. It's a sunshiny day out there today, so it's looking a lot better than it has in the last little while.
Absolutely. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel with the weather, spring approaching.
Absolutely. It's coming.
100%. Well, yeah, thanks again for joining us. But I got some questions for you, and I figured let's just hop right into it.
Absolutely.
Cool. So let's start outside of insurance here a little bit. Let's start with your personal life. Tell us what you do outside of the office. Where'd you grow up? What do you enjoy?
Okay, well, we'll start right from the very beginning. I started my life in Halifax, Nova Scotia. My parents were military. We moved to Trenton, Ontario, and I spent from grade 4 to grade 9 there. And that's incorrect. I went to Trenton, Ontario. I spent grade 4 through 9 in Newcastle, New Brunswick, outside of the base in Chatham. It's now known as Miramichi. And I moved to Manitoba in the summer of 1980. So I've been here for a long time. We moved to the military base out there, Southport, and moved to Brandon in 1982, and back to Portage in 1985, and back to Brandon in 2001. So I've been back and forth up that highway for quite a bit. So, and outside of the office, some probably already know, I started a band a number of years ago in 2005, and we've been playing ever since then. On a regular basis in Westman and through into Saskatchewan and some places north of Winnipeg as well. I did play in a band when I was on the base in Southport years ago. I was the bass player in that band, and I've since given up the bass and decided to focus on being the lead singer and manager, et cetera, et cetera. And other than that, in my personal life, I got a wife and a dog, a motorcycle, and a cottage, and a pretty damn happy life for the most part.
That's awesome. Well, let me put you on the spot. You want to sing a tune?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Need a little bit of accompaniment with that. So unless you got a kazoo or something, we could.
No, I'm just joking with you. That's cool. That's awesome. That's it sounds like you got a nice balance of extracurriculars and other things that take up your time, obviously, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, never a dull moment.
I think it's always interesting hearing different people's stories on how they actually stumbled into the insurance industry. What's your story? How did you get into it?
Well, back in 1995, I was working at a lumber yard, and back in those days, it was called Beaver Lumber. Some people might remember that if you're old enough, but yeah, that's where I worked. And I was getting kind of tired of working as a retail kind of guy. I'd been there for 10 years, and you get the typical, we'll make you a manager, which just means they expect 60 hours of work out of you rather than 40, and not a whole lot of difference. And it was kind of dragging, and it was nothing against people in that business, but it was not really where I wanted to be in life. And so I decided to take a power engineering course on my days off or in the evenings. And so I took my power engineering course thinking I'd get a job working with boilers, et cetera, maybe get into a provincial building or something like that. And it just so happened that at that time, Portage Mutual was looking for a loss control person. And the new outdoor boilers had just kind of become a little bit more common. So it was almost a perfect fit. I had experience with boilers from my courses, and Mr. Jerry Curry took me under his wing, and after 4 interviews with Tom McCartney over the course of a year, I started my career in Portage Mutual in December of 1995 as a loss control officer.
That's quite the story there. So you certainly, I mean, in some cases, like when people do their first job, it doesn't necessarily connect with where they end up at the end of the road. But for you, it sounds like your prior work experience kind of plays a role in what you do on the day-to-day now. Like, how valuable was your prior work experience to what you do now?
Oh, fairly valuable, I would think, because I worked pretty much every department in the lumberyard at that time. So I knew a fair amount about electrical, a fair amount about plumbing. I did quotes on houses and farm buildings, etc. So I pretty much had a feel for a lot of the stuff that goes on with the loss control. Being that I was a military kid and traveled all over the country, I really didn't have any farm experience, other than at that time I was married to a farm girl, and her family had a farm and stuff, and so I was kind of indoctrinated into it somewhat in there as well. But yeah, everything that I did moving into the insurance got me where I am, I think.
The next question that I had here was just based on your job title. So he's got you as the loss prevention manager. What sort of work is involved in that role? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Loss control for us is we look at all our specialized risks. Anything that we have in dairy risks, large farm operations. I'm kind of looking at the electrical inspections for our underwriters and residential as well as farm. And of course, a big portion of that is wood heat. And I review all the wet inspections that come in, which for those who don't know is wood energy technical training. I am wet certified. And I have 2 employees that work underneath me, work for me. I guess they don't work underneath me. That's kind of demeaning, but they work for Portage Mutual, and I kind of look after them. Dave Holmes came to us from the Portage La Prairie Fire Department. He was the deputy chief for 33 years. And actually, Dave and I went to school back when I lived in Portage years ago. And John Lee, who was an elevator manager years ago, and does a lot of our farm inspections. And he's been with us for 13 years now, I think. So
interesting. So they kind of, it sounds, based on what you just said there, it sounds like they have sort of the same background, not necessarily directly, but they have some of that prior experience from a job that helps them in their current role.
Absolutely. Dave comes with lots of experience from doing commercial inspections through the fire department, as well as residential inspections. So he knows what that's all about. John, again, of course, with his stuff working in the farm industry, working in a grain elevator, he has great experience with that. One of the smartest guys that I know when it comes to doing Douglas cost guides and stuff would be John Lee. He's very impressive with that stuff. So
it's awesome. It's awesome. It's very helpful to have valuable team members, of course.
Yeah.
Education. So I see when you sent me the email on your signature there, you got the prestigious CIP designation. How has education been a big component of your career so far?
Well, I know that lots of people, even in our company, have questions about why we do things like the CIP, and I did as well. To be totally honest, I wasn't quite sure why I was going through all of these courses. These courses seemed very cumbersome to a newcomer to the industry, and I wasn't sure where I was going with it, not sure that I was absorbing the stuff. And after years of doing it, it took me quite a while to get through my courses with learning stuff on job and everything else. I think it was almost 10 years that it took me to run through that. But every day, something comes up out of those courses. There's that knowledge is there. It goes back to the similar to learning your times tables and your alphabet and stuff when you were in school. You don't know that you needed that, but it's there, and you call on it on a regular basis. For anybody that would say that they don't need to do that, well, I don't know that that's true. I think everybody needs this education, and the more that we get, the better.
And isn't it rewarding when all the effort you've put into studying and learning all the material, when it becomes practical in your day-to-day, right? And you're actually utilizing that information. To me, that's the biggest rewarding aspect of the education.
Absolutely. And it comes as a surprise. And as I said, it's a daily surprise that all of a sudden you remember something that you took in a course that seemed to be dragging you out and whatnot. Education, I think, is probably top of the list of for people in the industry as a whole, not just for our companies ourselves, but the young brokers as well. I think, and I see that more and more brokers are doing the CIP and going on to the FCIP as well. So it's pretty impressive, getting your CABE and all that other stuff as well. Hats off to them for sure.
I agree. So, certainly important. With you being in claims, like a claims focused role, CIP, is that the recommended route that you would recommend? Is there anything else that you would recommend?
Obviously, the CIP and going through the claims portion of it, or the underwriting, depending on what line you're going to follow in your career. I think they're great. The CRM, of course, is a good one when it comes to doing things like specialized risk and whatnot. Of course, the wet, when it comes to the doing the wood heat stuff, is a fantastic course to have as a potential for knowledge. And knowledge is power at the end of the day, and the more that you know, the better you can serve for us, it's serving our brokers, and for the brokers, it's serving your clients. It's the more that you have in your head and your trunk full of knowledge, it's amazing what you can do with it.
Agree with you. It's easier to talk or sell something that you actually understand, right?
Correct, for sure. Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about your extracurricular activities that you do, your music and all that. I was curious on how you handle your work and life balance, especially in the environment that we're in today. Like during the COVID area here, a lot of us have been working from home, and the work day can turn into the work night pretty easily, and everything can flow into one. How do you separate work from your own time?
Well, it has definitely been a challenge with the COVID thing. I've been lucky enough to be in my office every day here. For the most part, it's myself and one of the adjusters in our Brandon office. That's all that we usually have in here. But in saying that, the cell phone never goes off. I'm sitting having breakfast and I'm answering emails because I can, and we're done at 4:30. But their stuff comes in at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And if it's urgent, it gets attention immediately. But you have to be able to stop that at some point. It's not good for your mental health to continue to push work that much. It's great to get it done, but you still have to have time to decompress. I find it fairly easy to do that because I do have other hobbies, of course, with the band, and we have a young dog at home and whatnot. So I'm usually pretty engaged with my home life. So, and I try to put a fine line on it, but there are always things that take up time and work, no matter what time of the day it is.
Well, for sure, and I mean it shows your passion too, that you're willing to respond after hours and everything like that too. And it shows your commitment to what you do. But I agree with you. It is important to separate that work and life and have a healthy balance in between, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So are you involved with any sort of organizations outside of insurance?
Any organizations outside of insurance? Well, I'm just trying to, I don't think I've had anything recently. Like I'm pretty committed to obviously just doing my work stuff. We were we did a lot of work with the MS Society years ago. My wife has MS, and we contributed to a lot of their fundraising and those type of events. We did that kind of stuff. Other than that, really, I don't have enough time in the day to get a whole lot of other things involved as well.
For sure. And I mean, I can respect that. You're a busy man. And I think it is important when you're able to get involved with outside organizations, because it can, I mean, just provide perspective on things, right? Like it's all about networking and getting different views on different subjects. Do you think that would benefit young brokers getting involved in, let's say, I mean, you said you were involved with the MS Foundation at some point. Do you think that benefits young brokers in the industry to do that sort of thing?
Absolutely. There are a number of things. I've seen some of the one of our local brokers here. I'm not going to make any plugs today, but their staff all pick a charity, and they do charity work, and I think they get rewarded internally from the brokerage for doing the charity work. Not that they need to be rewarded, but that's part of what they do. I think Habitat for Humanity is a fantastic thing to be involved in. Any of the movement center is a good one in Winnipeg. There's a million, like the Cancer Society, anything that you can do, MS, it all gives back to the community. And you know what? It entrenches us as an industry into the communities by doing that, and giving back to where you live is a fantastic idea. And it's just good to be a good person. So
I agree. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily just correlate with the young brokers. I mean, that's anybody, right? It's
yeah, for sure.
I did my first Habitat for Humanity build this year, and boy, was it a rewarding experience just to be a part of it.
Well, and again, as we were saying about going back to the CIP and stuff, the things you learn in a project like a Habitat for Humanity is fantastic. Like if you're not really comfortable or you don't know a lot about carpentry or plumbing and electrical, you may be picking that stuff up. So as much as you're giving back, you're also learning something there that you may use in your future. So same thing with any of these other things. It's all knowledge. And if you can help somebody while you're gaining your knowledge, even better.
Knowledge is power. I love it.
Absolutely.
So let's pivot here a little bit. Let's talk about some challenges and successes in your career. What was the biggest challenge that you'd say you've faced so far in your career? And what sort of obstacles did you have to overcome to get through that?
My biggest challenge coming into the industry was my lack of knowledge when I came in to what insurance really meant. Taking my CMP was, of course, it was a challenge because it's at that time I had a couple of kids at my house, and it was tough to find the time to do that. And I really didn't understand why I needed it at the time. It seemed to be a never-ending caseload, especially with a new job, and it did eat into the personal time a lot. But of course, what I say after, as I said earlier, after I'm taking all the courses and I didn't understand why, I know so much more. It's so much better. That would be the biggest challenge, was the start of my career and trying to balance, like as you brought up earlier, the work-life balance, because it really did, coming into it with not a lot of knowledge about the insurance industry, it was definitely a big struggle to try to put it all into your head at once and do a job as well.
For sure. And it all comes back to the education in a way too, right? Like it's once you build that knowledge base, you become more comfortable in what you're doing and you're ultimately more successful, right?
Correct. Absolutely. It's definitely worth its weight in gold for sure.
So what's the proudest or happiest moment that you've gone through so far in your career?
Well, I guess the proudest moment would have been finishing my CIP, to be honest. Also, when I hit 25 years with Portage, that was a pretty proud moment for me. Realized what I had done. 25 years in any career is pretty much a milestone, and is in all honesty, this has been a fantastic change from what I was started to do, and the years have flown by that, to be honest, I cannot believe I've been doing this for 25 years, like been in the industry. It's very rewarding. The people that you meet are awesome. So
that's awesome. And when it doesn't feel like work, right? Necessarily, the time will just flow by.
Absolutely. And a lot of people I know had struggles through this COVID, that time seemed to drag and whatnot. But for me, these weeks, I can't believe we're talking and it's almost the end of the week. And the last thing I remember was getting up to go to work on Monday. So it's okay. I've slept a couple times in between, but yeah, they fly by these days. I don't know. It's never a boring day in this industry.
That's awesome. So future, what's your goal for the future? Do you have any sort of exciting plans? I know you mentioned before this that there's a few changes, maybe just internally at the company that's going on, but yourself, is there anything that you plan for the future?
Well, to be totally honest, the clock's running down for me. 25 years in here. I turned 58 years old, I turned 58 this year, I guess. So I've only got a few more years in the industry. I can see the light coming towards me at the end of the tunnel. I'm not sure if it's a train or what it is, but I can see it coming to an end, and I have mixed feelings on that. I plan on just trying to retire at 60. That's not set in stone. I may be here till I'm 65, or who knows, I may be here later. But at the end of the day, I put in, by the time I hit that, I'll be at 30 odd years with Portage. So I think it's a fair good career, and ending at 30 years will be something still to be proud of. And you know what? This leaves the opportunity for other people to move into higher positions, so they can step up. At the end of the day, there's lots of young people in our company, and you know what? Give them the opportunity to move up in the ranks a bit too.
For sure, for sure. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but like you've sort of been very fundamentally responsible in like building the loss control department with Portage, right?
Well, when I first started with Portage, I started as loss control, and I worked there for about I guess 4 or 5 years with Jerry Curry out of our head office. The opportunity arose that something was going to be coming up here in Brandon, and what I did was I took on a position as an adjuster, and I did a year and a bit as an adjuster in Portage, and then then they moved me to Brandon because we needed an adjuster out here. So I ran the office by myself here in Brandon as an adjuster for about another year after that. And then at the time, Randy Clark, who was our CEO, came to me and said, we're looking for a marketing person because we haven't filled that position in a while. And so it was kind of a lateral move. So I went into marketing, and I did that for, well, I'm still doing it, but that's 20 odd years ago almost now. So, and with the retirement of Jerry Curry in our loss control department, I took over for him as the manager. Now, all throughout this whole time frame, I was involved in loss control right through, as well as marketing. It's nice to have a number of different avenues that you've been down. So I have a little bit of knowledge is sometimes a dangerous thing, but I have a little bit of claims background, a lot of marketing background, and a lot of loss control. So it makes me fairly well-rounded in the to be able to converse with each department there, and most brokers as well.
For sure. And would you say that like what part of the legacy you want to leave behind is a strong loss control department, or an easy transition for that loss control department after you leave, essentially?
Absolutely. I am quite sure that Dave Holmes will take over from me, and he will run this after when I choose to leave. He'll run it for a number of years. Portage has always been fairly strong on loss control. I've been very proud of what we've done in loss control, even as a marketing guy. It lessens our risk, obviously, and we want to lessen our own risks, but we also want to make sure that the insureds are safe, and the brokers they're limiting their risk exposure as well. But at the end of the day, it's a life safety thing for most of it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's the life safety aspect. That's number one importance with loss control, obviously. But at the end of the day, loss control benefits everybody involved, right? Like it benefits the insurance company, benefits the broker, and it benefits the insured, right? Because they're preventing a claim, right?
Correct. Absolutely. And you know what? It keeps the better the loss control department is. And as we can keep our losses down to a minimum, and if we can we can't eliminate them, of course, because this is insurance. And if there was no risk, we would have no jobs. But by limiting it, we're able to keep our rates fairly reasonable, so that translates into better rates for our insureds, and a better rate for our brokers as yourselves to be able to quote Portage or whatnot. I think we've been very well respected in the industry as a loss control company. There are lots more things we could do for sure, but I don't know how much we can do without making it almost obstructionist for people that they can't do what they need to do. But we want to make sure everybody's safe at the end of the day.
For sure, for sure. And I think just having these departments in place is a step in the right direction, right? Like to me, it's very key. Um, the next thing I had here was opportunities for young brokers going forward. What areas in insurance do you see there potentially being maybe an opening or an opportunity for young brokers to succeed in? Do you have any sort of insight on that?
Well, as a broker force, you face insurance for multiple companies, and the opportunity to promote yourselves as an independent broker is very imperative. Over my 27 years, I've grown to realize that the insurance professionals that ensure the safety and security of people's homes and auto and so on. And no one else is qualified to give that advice, and proper coverage is required to protect the insureds other than yourselves in the broker force. Insurance is not understood by the masses. Therefore, there's always going to be a place for insurance professionals. You're educated and informed, and you should be proud to provide this service for your friends, your family, and your community. The sky's the limit in this industry. I've seen lots of people move up inside of within brokerages from CSRs at the front to portfolio managers. There's always opportunities in the industry for. I've seen some migration from the broker force into the industry as well. So into the other markets, it works out great. Like if you continue to go and you're willing to move and learn, you can, the sky's the limit. It's a fantastic career. I would never hesitate to promote that to anybody.
For sure. And so as a broker, like as an individual, you touched on it a little bit, saying you've got to figure out a way to essentially promote yourself or to highlight yourself, right? Like, is there, just like in claims, do you see a benefit in maybe specialization? Like claims, there could be, let's say, an adjuster that specializes in, fire losses. From a broker's perspective, do you see there being value in specializing in certain areas of insurance?
Absolutely. Specializing in especially risks, of course, being farm, the dairies, the hog barns, the poultry, the large grain operations, great as a specialized. Same as you could do for large commercial stuff. Now, in saying that, there are specific places where that will give you opportunities galore, but there's nothing that says you shouldn't explore all these avenues. It's nice to have something to say you're obviously right in your wheelhouse, but knowing all the different parts of how it functions makes you that much more of a rounded broker and allows you to jump onto any potential new jobs that come along or potentials for advancement.
I agree. And I think it's like, specialization is important. But I look at it as a client as having a full portfolio, right? And as a broker, you want to be able to service that whole portfolio, or as much of it as you can. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. No, you need to be able to still service the people at the front counter, be able to do the auto pack thing. Plus, you may need to write up a homeowner's policy and then go from there. Like there's this, like I said, the sky's the limit. There's so many opportunities. It's mind-boggling. It's something that, in all honesty, when I first took on the thought of jumping into the insurance realm, I thought it was a bunch of stuffed shirts and people wearing suits and ties all the time, and it looked like no fun. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. And you've experienced it already. It's with our IBAM conferences, with the Young Brokers Network, with golf tournaments and all the networking opportunities that we have. I can't think of a better social type of industry than we have. This is fantastic.
That's awesome that you say that, because I think our industry gets labeled as being boring and dull way too often. Like brokers are fun. We're a good time. Not just brokers, the whole industry is fun. Everybody likes to have a good time, right?
Absolutely. And it was definitely a misconception in my mind. And it didn't take long to realize with our Portage annual conventions, the IBAM conventions and everything else, how much people interact, and the networking is fantastic. The people you meet are awesome. It's I don't know. I love this industry. I can't imagine doing anything else. The only regret I have is I didn't start this 10 years earlier. Like if I had a circumvented that little time at my lumber yard and jumped into this right away, Lord only knows where I would be.
I really just had one more question for you, Mike. You're a big role model in this industry. What advice would you give to the next generation? How would you, like, what's one key point of advice that you'd give to them, just based on your experience?
Well, as I said, it's a fantastic career with endless opportunities. I would say that you continue to listen to each other and support each other in the industry. Watch how quickly doors open up for you. It's fantastic. I talk about Portage being a family, but in reality, the insurance brokers, partners, consumers are all part of that family. And if you can be part of something this great and awesome, it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling for your life. Like this is amazing. I would like to see some a little bit more going through the universities and the community colleges to promote this industry as a career path. I think we as companies in this industry and brokers as well, we need to be pushing for good new staff to come in here and let them know how much we're enjoying it. Like I said, it's not boring. It's everybody thinks it is. It's not. I don't think I could be an actuary, but at the end of the day, this is fun. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think just to touch on that education aspect, I don't disagree. But I know that there is some work in progress right now. I know Red River is starting to add some insurance courses in there. I don't know all the key details, but the wheels are churning, so it's a good thing. Insurance is really starting to be respected as a professional career, and I think it's important for people in the industry to be treated accordingly, right?
Oh, for sure. Yep. And as we've talked, it is a great place to be. There's lots of things for us to do. I can't say enough good about the industry. It's served me well for 27 years now, and the people that I know and have met over the years, even in retirement, I don't think they're going to fall far off of my radar. I think they'll still be out there. There'll still be contact. It's one of those things. This is a family, and it makes you feel like a family. And if you want to belong somewhere, this is a perfect place to be. Insurance brokers, through the companies, whatever it happens to be, it's a great place to be. I would recommend it to anybody.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us today, Mike. We really appreciate your time. As we mentioned, I know you're going to be speaking at the IBAM conference, and I look forward to hearing from you there. And next time I'm in around Portage, I'd love to take you out for lunch.
Absolutely. Yep. And we'll be having a breakout session, like I said. And I'm not sure when your podcast is going to air, but if you've got any brokers that are watching this and they want to come out, my other career on the weekends starts to, now that COVID is let loose, we're back at it again. So we're playing here in Brandon on the 25th and 26th of March. Had to check to see my calendar to see when that is. So
nice. So you got a show upcoming in March. Whereabouts are you playing?
We're playing at the North 40 here in Brandon, and there's lots of stuff coming in. Just this morning, more stuff showed up on my phone. So it's live music is back in Natter, so that'll give me more than enough stuff to keep myself busy until the cottage opens up. So
that's exciting. Well, thank you again for your time today, Mike, and Really appreciate you joining us. And yeah, that's all we got today.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. So we will talk to you soon, and we will see you very soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good, Mike. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. Talk to you later.
Cheers. Okay. Bye-bye.